Welcome back to the Book of Days. We are with you, unfortunately, nocturnally for the first time. This was due to technical difficulties way beyond our control. Believe me, you. However, it is still the 11th of January today. Therefore, we will push on. We will push the plow and move forward. January the 11th being the date of birth of Francesco Massuoli Parmigiano, painter from Parma. Born the year 1503, Henry Duke of Norfolk, born 1654, died this day Sir Hans Sloane, M.D., the year 1753, and Francois Roubilac, a sculptor, dead the year 1762. It is the feast day of Saint Hyginus, Pope and Martyr, dead the year 142, and Saint Theodosius, the Canobiarch, dead the year 529. Due to our very limited amount of time and the need to hasten the release of this video, we will go right to the most important feature of January the 11th, or any day which is the first Monday after 12th day. Such was the name, Plough Monday, of a rustic festival heretofore of great account in England, bearing in its first aspect, like St. Distaff's Day, reference to the resumption of labor after the Christmas holidays. In Catholic times, the ploughmen kept lights burning before certain images in churches to obtain a blessing on their work. And they were accustomed on this day to go about in procession gathering money for the support of these plough lights, as they were called. The Reformation put out the lights, but it could not extinguish the festival. The peasantry contrived to go about in procession collecting money, though only to be spent in conviviality in the public house. It was at no remote date still a very gay and rather pleasant-looking affair. A plough was dressed up with ribbons and other decorations called the fool plough. 30 or 40 stalwart swains with their shirts over their jackets and their shoulders and hats flaming with ribbons dragged it along the plough from house to house, preceded by one in the dress of an old woman, but much bedizened, bearing the name of Bessie. There was also a fool in fantastic attire. In some parts of the country, Morris dancers attended the procession. Occasionally, too, some reproduction of the ancient Scandinavian sword dance added to the means of persuading money out of the pockets of the lieges. A correspondent who was borne apart on many a Plough Monday in Lincolnshire, part of cow horn blowing, thus describes what happened on these occasions under his own observation. Rude though it was, the plough procession threw a life into the dreary scene of winter, as it came winding along the quiet rutted lanes on its way from one village to another. For the ploughmen from many a surrounding thorpe, hamlet, and lonely farmhouse united in the celebration of Plough Monday. It was nothing unusual for at least a score of the sons of the soil to yoke themselves with ropes to the plough, having put on a clean smock frock in honor of the day. There was no limit to the number who joined in the Morris dance and were partners with Bessie, who carried the money box. And all these had ribbons in their hats and pinned about them wherever there was room to display a bunch. Many a hard-working country Molly lent a helping hand in decorating out her Johnny for Plough Monday, and finished him with an admiring exclamation of, "Lawks, John, thou dost look smart, surely." Some also wore small bunches of corn in their hats, from which the wheat was soon shaken out by the ungainly jumping which they called dancing. Occasionally, if the winter was severe, the procession was joined by threshers carrying their flails, reapers bearing their sickles, and carters with their long whips, which they were ever cracking to add to the noise. While even the smith and the miller were among the number, for the one sharpened the plowshares and the other ground the corn. And Bessie, she rattled his box and danced so high, he showed his worsted stockings and corduroy breeches, and very often, if there was a thaw, tucked up his gown skirts under his waistcoats and shook the bonnet off his head and disarranged the long ringlets that ought to have concealed his whiskers. For Betsy is to the procession of Plough Monday what the leading figurantes is to an opera or ballet and dances about as gracefully as the hippopotami described by Dr. Livingstone. But these rough antics were the cause of much laughter, and rarely do we ever remember hearing any coarse jest that would call up the angry blush to a modest cheek. Plough Monday. Domestic life in old times, however rude and comfortless compared with what is now or may be, was relieved by many little jocularities and traits of festive feeling. When the day came for the renewal of labor in earnest, there was a sort of competition between the maids and the men, which should be most prompt in rising to work. If the ploughmen were up and dressed at the fireside with some of their field implements in hand, before the maids could get the kettle on, the later party had to furnish a cock for the men next Shrovetide. As an alternative upon the statute, if any of the ploughmen returning at night came to the kitchen hatch and cried, "Cock in the pot," before any maid could cry, "Cock on the dunghill," she incurred the same forfeit. There you have it, a tale of days gone by, January 11th, Plough Monday. Keep it in mind, celebrate it as you wish. We will see you tomorrow, January the 12th. Many happy returns from us at the Book of Days Project.